So I have the honor now to introduce to you Father Patrick Desbois, who's the president of the international organization Yahad in Unum. And this organization is working since the last 15 years in interviewing more than 7,000 eyewitnesses of the execution of Jews and Romas in Eastern Europe. So what I learned from that is that you also live in the power of speaking about the atrocities. And Father Desbois was also from 2001 until 2016 the director of the National Service for Relations with Judaism. I think probably all of the people who are here today know your book about the Holocaust by the bullets, a priest's journey to uncover the truth behind the murder of 1 million Jews, which was published in 2007, I think, and won the National Jewish Book Award in 2008. So we are here today as we speak about bridging the past and the present, and we want to speak today about your organization, Action Yazidis, the initiative that collects the words of survivors and also of children to document and offer evidence of every step of the genocide of the Yazidi committed by ISIS. So thank you that you are here today. Yes.
Thank you. Yes, with my organization, Yahad, since now nearly 20 years, effectively, we have investigated the crimes committed against the Jews and Roma in post-Soviet Union. We work in 10 countries, and in my second book, In Broad Daylight, I try to explain what was the protocol, the processes, so that the German came very early in a village at 6 o'clock and most of the time leave at 5 p.m. and all the Jews are dead except in Babi Yar and places like that. And it was for me a big enigma. It took me 2 years to understand finally how many people we employed, little people, to dig the mass grave, to fulfill the mass grave, to take out the clothes, to sell the belonging, to bring ashes on the blood, etc. And also, I would say, the passive or active participation of the neighbors, who in any case at the minimum went to watch, because it was the Einsatzgruppe did this shooting in public, and most of the time people tried to find a good place to see. So we are still working on that, but suddenly in August 14, when I heard at the TV that ISIS was climbing around Mount Sinjar and that a population called Yazidi, I never heard about the Yazidi before, was trying to escape, and people began to say it could be a genocide. I took time to think, to pray, and finally we decided to go to Iraq. Why go to Iraq? I realized it was not so far from the same methodology. It means the killers came to the village and closed the road with the neighbors and made a false promise to the Yazidi that it will be nothing except a changement of document. So we have to gather in the administration and put a white flag and renounce to their religion, and so on and so on. And just after the doors of the administration is closed, they begin to dismantle the families. They take out the newborn babies, they will disappear, being adopted by family, ISIS family. They select the virgin girls with doctors who check every girl, and this girl will be sold with the help of the neighbors by a huge group of 100, 200, 300, and after sold one by one, and sometime until now. And the most of the men have been killed if they renounce to convert to Islam. So we decided to go, and it was a big challenge because it was quite different. First, because it's Middle East. Secondly, because the killers were still alive. And when we began in spring 15, the front was not far. We were not far from the front of ISIS, so we were highly depending on the war. And now we have filmed 380 Yazidi. We interview them just when they escape, so that we can really have a real memory, not mixed with the narrative of the camp where they are. And we try to rebuild all the topography that they had to cross from the day of arrestation to the day of liberation. And it's a big challenge, because today a girl who goes out of ISIS has been sold a minimum 25 times to sometimes to 35 times. She had a forced pregnancy, and so she had babies from ISIS men, and she cannot bring them back. And the boys who come back, it's more complicated, because they have been trained in Islamic school, completely cut from their family. And in an Islamic school in Mosul most of the time for during 1 year and a half, and the best one have been chosen to be trained in camps in Syria. I remember one, he told me how after 1 month already he forgot his family, and he was very happy to be chosen to be trained in a camp. It explained it was difficult because it was underground camp to avoid the bombings. And after, he had to choose which gun he will choose, and he has chosen to be a sniper. And he was 12 years old, so very proud to have been a sniper in ISIS. He has been fighting on the front against the Turkish or against Bashar al-Assad troops. So for these teenagers, it's a big challenge, because when they come back, they don't even remember the face of their parents most of the time. They don't speak any more their language, because it's forbidden in ISIS. And we try to heal them in centers that we have in Iraq.
So, and yeah, this is my next question would be, you said they sometimes or most often they do not understand the language anymore, because they were trained to forget them, trained as terrorists and so on. So could you maybe say something about these actual, I think there are more challenges of which you see when you meet these children or child survivors, and in these centers, for example, in Iraq, with which methods or approaches do you try to bring them back into a life?
Though first of all, for the children, most of them, they didn't want to come back. They wanted to stay in ISIS. I remember a young boy, he was 9 years old, and he has been sold to an American family. So he was speaking perfectly American. And he told me, I'm not Yazidi, I'm not Kurdish. I don't even know what I'm doing here with these silly people. And so he accepted to make an interview. And he spoke to me about Samantha. He called her my mom, but she was ISIS. She was not her mom. And after a few minutes, he asked me, can I ask you something? I say, yes. He said, will you give me money for this interview? And I say, money for what? He told me, I need to buy a pistol to kill my dad. So his biological dad. So we realized he was really ISIS. We could identify the mother who was in jail in Syria, Samantha, because she was in a CNN emission. So we confronted with the video, etc. And the parents didn't know what to do, because they couldn't even communicate with him. And now he has changed. Now he has found back his Kurdish language. He goes to school. He's happy. So what is the methodology? First is to re-socialize them. When they arrive in the camps, in the IDP camps, they don't want to communicate with the other Yazidis, so they isolate themselves. So our psychologue or the nannies go out of our centers and try to become a friend with them, to begin to re-socialize them. And so little by little, and also after, to attract them in our centers, sometimes for simple things, sometimes to teach, to learn English, sometimes to play football, sometimes something easy. And little by little, all the staff, I will say, will begin to make a statement. For example, some boys, when they arrive from ISIS, they don't want to sit near girls because they say it's forbidden. Or if they see another Yazidi speaking with a girl, they say, you will not speak to you anymore, etc. So the first challenge is to reestablish the relation between men and women, I would say, and boys and girls. And secondly, second challenge is to teach them something else like the Hadith and the Quran, because for them it was forbidden to learn anything else. So, and they cannot go back in school because they have been 5 years out of the school system, so the school system doesn't want them anymore. So we try to teach them either English, either basic knowledge of the society, also to teach them about their rights of Yazidi, their civil rights, but it takes time. Some are very happy to find back life, some don't know what to do, and also some are still in contact with ISIS by internet. So for these ones, it's the most complicated. And among the team, there is a psychologist, and so they have, he works to be a friend with them, and little by little to make either session one by one, either with a group, and to begin to listen to the mass of trauma, because even if they have been brainwashed, sometimes they have been tortured, sometimes they have seen a lot of execution, of beheadings, of crucifixions, of bombings. Sometimes they had to escape also the bombings of the coalitions. So it goes out very slowly. And after, if they are older, we try to train them to find a job.
So we were just stopped when you said that you tried to find a job for them, for the kids.
Yeah, most of them, you must know that these children, they had a promotion in ISIS. For us, they are children, they are teenagers, because they are 12 years old, they are 14 years old. But in their mind, they are not. Well, one boy who has been to Canada, he said on his Facebook, he said, they built a world in Europe, teenager, but I'm not a teenager, I'm a fighter. And so there are two people in the same persons, I would say. There is a fighter who has been very successful to shoot with the Kalashnikov, to put bombs or to be sniper, etc. And there is the child who wants to play football, who wants to meet girls, who is young. Sometimes also some have been married very young with somebody on the ground, and that they miss somewhere. They will never find back. So it's a challenge because at the legal level, they are children. And at the concrete level, they have been fighting as terrorists. And so we think also that they had a promotion in their life. They were from small village, keeping animals most of the time. And suddenly they are sniper. So it's to be somebody for a boy. And so we try to find them a promotion in Iraq. So to learn them a job. So by example, that they can practice in their village. So to be hairdresser or to be carpenter or to know to make a reparation of telephone, or for the woman to know to make suits, to have her own autonomy. And we see for that a big success because suddenly they realize there are other skills. We can say also that it's never completely sure that we succeed. The Yazidi have tendency to follow somebody, and so if they never meet an ISIS man, will tell him, oh, you remember, guy, you were a sniper, or you were somebody. If he meets one guy like that, it's dangerous. But if he didn't meet anybody like that, I think they can reestablish their identity as Yazidi. Another problem also is that most of these children didn't know so much about the faith of the Yazidi. So they discovered in ISIS the prayer, and they discover the feeling of God, the knowledge of God. They know a lot of hadith. They know, for example, one girl, she was trained to sing the Quran, and we told her, can you sing? And she began to sing Quran, and somebody was Muslim began to sing with her in our group, and she said, no, you don't know to sing well, stop singing. And it was very impressionant because she was Yazidi and she knew many pieces of the Quran by heart. And so that's another problem, is that they had a religious identity, and in the Yazidi people, it's more a reinsertion in the Yazidi people, I would say, rather than in the religion, because sometimes they don't know so much. So it's a big challenge. It's both a psychological challenge, it's both a resocialization challenge, and to open a future to them. And also for the orphans, it's terrible because nobody cares of them. They have been, because they have been sold back to the family, but sometimes it's an old uncle. One guy, he was 86 and he had 6 children in charge, not his children, but he could buy back his nephews and niece. And he told me, I have not even the money to give food. So we have also to provide first level help. We make a basic distribution every month for the orphans. It's also not easy to raise money today for the Yazidi because people think it's in the past. People think it's a subject to study, but you know, it's like to study the Jews in 45. And so the first need, I would say, is really a concrete need. And so that's another problem. As long as we were in the light of the media, the Yazidi received a lot of help. Now that they are no more in the media, who cares?
Yes, but you just mentioned it. You said it's like or similar to studying the Holocaust. How did that come? I mean, you said it in the beginning that you watched a documentary or something like that about Yazidis, but I mean, it must be also a challenge for you to bridge the past, to work with something that happened in the past and with genocide, which is happening today.
Yes and no. Yes and no. First, we have to learn a lot of new terminology, Arab terminology,
Yes.
Arab terminology of ISIS. So it's complete other category. What is helping is that we have to learn to listen and to derive question without hurting the people, because we have interviewed more than 8,000 post-Soviet citizens present at the killing, but now it's people who are now, and that the killers are not dead. So it's very, very different. And also some killers are out of the countries and succeeded to escape, and they are in contact. So there is also a risk of security. We can, it's not bridge, because it's not, you know, when you have a child 9 years old and he meets his mom and he's waiting for his mom and the mom is dead, you have to care. You cannot say, oh, I bridge you with a survivor of 45. It would be awful. And what I say is that to take care of them is like the people who had to take care of the Jews in 45 or 46. It was first need help. And I think very few people realize they have to help them now. Because as I said, you know, I am a believer. God will not ask you, did you know the Yazidi? He will say, what did you do for them? And I think we need also a wake-up call when there is a genocide or mass crimes. But after, we have to help the people, because our armies don't stop the genocide, but at least with the NGOs we can heal the survivors. And it's my duty. So it's different from what I did in the Soviet Union, because we have to heal actual people, and most of them children and women.
So what we were wondering also is that is it sometimes some kind of challenge or problem that maybe the children have, that you are a Catholic priest, or that it's an organization which is run by someone who is Catholic because they are Yazidis or trained by the Quran and so on?
Oh, not at all, not at all, because in Kurdistan, Iraq, the priests are very respected, and my team is Yazidi. My right hand is Roma. He was policeman in Molenbeek, so he knows ISIS on the ground of Europe. He knew Abdel Salam was one of the killer of Paris, and the other team is completely Yazidi. We have 18 employees Yazidi to care. The nannies are Yazidi, the psychologues are Yazidi. And when we make interview, we have always minimum 2 Yazidi around the person. And me, I am in the back. And it's the opposite. As long as they see you care, as long as they say you make food distribution, as long as you pay surgeries, because a lot. For example, somebody asked me yesterday, a girl has been released by ISIS, but she doesn't listen and she doesn't hear anymore. They have destroyed that. She needs a surgery. So always the same question: how much will cost the surgery? Is it possible to reach her? Can she go to hospital? Do we have really a surgery in good capacity to do that? And we did that a lot. We had to give you the situation. It's not at all theoretical. One boy, he was trained in a camp, but he was afraid to stay all his life, so he escaped, and he stole a bicycle and he tried to run away. But the chief of the camp, when he saw that, he took his car, he drove the car, and he ran on him 2 times, and he broke his 2 legs and 2 arms. And after, he took him to an ISIS hospital, and they put him metal in the legs and in the arms, but they told him, we will put it too small, so you will suffer a lot when you will grow. And so when we met him, he couldn't walk anymore because he was growing and the metal was blocking everything. So we had to pay a surgery to take out all the metal that ISIS put in the corpse. So people, they know we do that. And it's why it's not a problem. It's why it's very different from the Soviet Union, because we have to heal them psychologically, but also physically. We have a girl, she was under the bombing of the coalition, and we saw she had a lot of things in the corpse and she was very painful. And so we made surgery, and she had 13 little stones in the corpse from a bombing. So we extract the stones. I say that because it's very, very, very concrete. It's not a study. It's really a physical and psychological and relational healing to engage. It's a fight, in fact. But this fight is very alone. We are not very numerous now to do this job.
Yeah, and I think it must be a heavy challenge to speak with the children, to work with them, that they can regain trust in life.
No, it's very difficult to find money to do it.
Yeah. Okay, yes.
That's your question is a very theoretical question. Well, actually, when people have to say it's a surgery, tell me it's $5,000. I have to find the $5,000.
Yes.
And you must know, when you are 2 feet on the ground in the mud, you are completely over questions. To heal people is like somebody working in hospital and says, is it difficult? They say it's difficult for the sick people, not for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so unfortunately, we are running out of time. I could speak for hours with you and ask you questions, but unfortunately, we have to stop now. Yes?
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much to speak with you. Yes?
Merci. Merci beaucoup.
So I just stopped the recording. Thank you so much. What I wanted to ask is, do you have a branch in Germany? I tried to find that out.
No, we are a non-profit. No,